Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another lecture for Computer Science 9618 AS level. We were discussing section number 4, processor fundamentals, and we were in the middle of section 4.1, CPU architecture to be exact. Moving on, the next thing we have left in 4.1 is the fetch, decode, execute cycle. In order to carry out an instruction, the processor fetches data and stores it into suitable registers, and it then decodes the instructions and executes it. You would remember the steps of fetch, decode, execute cycle from your O levels, and the steps are absolutely the same over here as well. Address present in PC is moved to MAR through the address bus. Content stored at the memory location or the memory address contained in MAR is then copied into MDR through the data bus. The instruction in the MDR is then copied into CIR, the current instruction register. A value stored in PC is then incremented by 1, so it becomes the address of the next instruction to be fetched, and this completes the first stage of the fetch, decode, execute cycle, that is the fetch stage. The next stage is that the instruction which is now in CIR is translated or decoded, and the third stage is the instruction is executed by sending out signals through the control bus. Okay, so there is something new regarding the fetch, decode, execute cycle, which is not very closely related to the fetch, decode, execute cycle and how processors work. That is known as the register transfer notations. The information transformed from one register to another is presented in symbolic form by replacement operators called a register transfer or register transfer notations. It describes what is being transferred without specifying how it is done. Common notations that you should know about are square brackets, and if a register name is written in square brackets, it means that the processor is supposed to load the contents of that register. For example, square bracket PC square bracket close would mean the processor should load the contents of program counter. If there are double square brackets around a register name, that means this register contains some memory location, and you are supposed to go, and the processor is supposed to go to that memory location and fetch the contents which are stored in that memory location in the RAM. The actual memory address which is stored in MAR is not supposed to be copied. The processor has to get the contents which are stored in that location. So double bracket basically means that load the contents of the memory location which is present in that register, and normally it only happens with MAR. The third register transfer notation we have are the parentheses or these round brackets. If parentheses are written in front of a register name, which is usually the MDR or the MBR, memory data register, or the memory buffer register, it means that the processor does not need all the contents of the register or the location, it only needs a specific part of it. The contents of the MDR will often contain both an OP code and an operand. Now this is something which we have discussed back in O levels as well, that every instruction set contains two things. The first part is the OP code, which tells the computer or the processor what action to perform, and the second one is operand, which is just a memory location that tells the processor from where to get the data from or on which data to perform that specific action. So MDR often contains, or CIR often contains, the complete instruction set, or the complete instruction that contains both OP code and an operand. The first part is the OP code, or the left part is the OP code, and the right side is the operand. However, sometimes according to the process, the processor only requires a specific part, either the OP or the operand from the MDR or CIR, but not the whole thing. So at that time we use parenthesis to notify which part of the instruction set is required, or which value is required. This can be specified in a number of different ways. However, the most common way is to use the term high byte capital H or low byte capital L to indicate whether OP code is required or the operand is required. High byte over here means the left side of the code or the OP code, and low byte or capital L means the right part or the right side of the instruction, which is technically the operand or the memory address. Left arrow, which you would know from your O-level chapter 7 as well, is known as assignment operator. Over here, left arrow kind of works in the same vicinity. It basically points to where the data is being saved to, or where the data is being transferred from. Usually we write the name of the register to which data is going on the left side of the left arrow, and we write the name of register from where data is being copied on the right side of this left arrow. For example, let's say this is R1, or this is our first this is R1 or register 1. Then we have semicolons, ACC, and then save what value in ACC. Square bracket means take the load the contents of ACC and then add 1 to it, and then store it back in ACC. Like for example, if the ACC right now contains the value 316, then add 1 to it, which becomes 317, and then save that value back in the ACC. This is just like how we write count equals to count plus 1 in pseudocode. Now this is a conditional operation, because this thing, this semicolon, this colon symbol represents that this is a conditional operation. Only do this ACC equals to ACC plus 1. I'm making it simple for you. If the value of R1 or register 1 is true, or it is 1, when we are talking about basic registers inside the CPU, there is no true and false over there. They only can represent ones or zeros. So if the value of R1 is 1, or if it is true, then only then condition do what? Increment the value of ACC by 1. Then we have some more examples of RTN or register transfer notation. MAR, and then we have the assignment. Okay, let's call it assignment operator for our own easiness. MAR save the PC register, and then we have the PC inside the square brackets. That means load the content of PC register or copy the contents of program counter register into MAR, because as you know from fetch decode execute cycle, the contents of PC point to the next instruction to be fetched, and that instruction cannot be fetched unless it is first copied into MAR. The next transfer notation, now these instructions are just as an example, they are not in the proper order of fetch decode execute cycle. Please don't mix it up. Then we have something like load the value of program counter or PC, add 1 to it, and then save the new value in program counter. This is basically the RTN or the register transfer notation for add 1 to the value of PC, or the increment the value of PC by 1, so it becomes the instruction of the next register, which is technically the last stage of the fetch, the last step in the fetch stage. Then we have something like double square bracket on MAR, which basically means go to the location which is currently stored in MAR and then copy whatever contents are over there and then store them in MDR. This is this stage. Content stored at the memory location address contained in MAR is then copied into MDR through data bus. This is the register transfer notation for the second step in fetch cycle. Then we have MDR, or the value or the content of MDR should be copied into CIR. This is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think so I need to explain it. Okay, so these are all the register transfer notations that you are supposed to know about. Next we have something that is known as interrupt. Now if you have studied computer science in your O levels, then you would remember very well that interrupt is simply a signal generated by a software or a hardware which is sent to the microprocessor. This signal causes the processor to temporarily halt all other processes it is doing and attend to the interrupt first, because interrupt basically means that some emergency situation has occurred. Examples of interrupts can be a fatal error in a program, a hardware fault, a need for input or output processing to begin, some user interaction such as pressing Control, Alternate and Delete key together to launch Task Manager, a timer signal, a software error such as .exe file not found, division by 0, etc. Then we can have hardware based interrupts as well, about which obviously you have studied in your O level, such as paper stuck in printer, printer out of paper, printer out of ink, etc. A special register called the interrupt register is used in the fetch execute cycle. If an interrupt would occur during an fetch execute cycle, one of the bits in interrupt register would be changed depending upon its type and priority. For example, from 00000000 it would change to something like 00000100. Whenever an interrupt signal is received, it is collected by an interrupt handler and an interrupt service routine or ISR is carried out. This usually involves the interrupt being assigned a place in a queue, which is known as an interrupt queue, so that the handler can decide which interrupt is having the highest or the topmost priority. Interrupt having the topmost priority is serviced or dealt with first, and then the one with slightly lower priority, and then the next one, and the next one. So what happens is that the contents of the program counter and other registers are saved in a special place in memory or sometimes in cache. Then the ISR or interrupt service routine is executed by loading the start address of the specific type of ISR into the program counter. Basically, for every type of interrupt there are different pre-written pieces of code that if this interrupt came from the printer, what to do next is different. Then whether if the interrupt is coming from the keyboard or if the interrupt is coming from a software, all of these interrupts cannot be dealt with in the same way. Every interrupt has a different ISR or interrupt service routine or a different code which tells the microprocessor how to handle that specific type of interrupt. So the relevant ISR is loaded into the PC and the interrupt are then handled according to their importance or their priority. Once the interrupt has been fully serviced, and then the next interrupt is taken from the queue and its ISR is loaded and it is dealt with, and once the queue is empty, all of the available interrupts have been serviced, then the status of the interrupted task is reinstated. Means the contents of PC and other registers that were halted during the execution of fetch decode execute cycle and they were abruptly saved in the memory, or cache, they are reinstated into their original places, their original registers, and the process continues from where it left off. The fetch, decode, execute cycle continues from wherever it was halted. This process happens so fast that it is impossible for a user to notice that the operating system has been interrupted temporarily. Remember that a speed of 3 gigahertz or 1.8 gigahertz or 2 gigahertz means that your processor is doing 1.8 billion instructions or 3 billion instructions per second. If you have a cored computer, then you can simply multiply that number with the number of cores in your system. If you have, let's suppose, an i5, that means technically 4 cores. So 1.3 multiplied by 4, your processor is doing at least 10 billion instructions per second. Now if you divide 1 second on 10 billion, then you are going to get a very small number. That is something like on the scale of nanoseconds, and human reaction time is something like 250 milliseconds. So that's why we are unable to perceive that the computer has been interrupted. Instead of 10 billion fetch, decode, execute cycles, if your computer runs a few hundred less, let's say instead of 10 billion it runs 9.5 billion, you are not going to notice any difference. Key terms to remember: the interrupt priority, the priority assigned to an interrupt. Interrupts are given a priority so the microprocessor knows which one needs to be serviced first and which interrupts are to be dealt with quickly and which are to be dealt with, whichever can wait for a while before they can be processed. Service, or to service an interrupt, means when an interrupt is received, some action needs to be taken by the processor depending on what caused the interrupt to resolve it. That is to service it. The interrupt cannot be removed to allow the processor to continue unless and until it has been dealt with or serviced properly. Then we have the ISR, interrupt service routine, a piece of code, a software that handles interrupt requests. For example, when the printer is out of paper, the relevant ISR would display a message on screen because the computer cannot refill the paper on its own. It would display a message on screen for the user to refill the papers and so on. It would for example, and send a request to the CPU for processing, and the CPU would process it and display that message to the user. Okay, that's every last bit of information you need to know about section 4.1. That's absolutely everything. Now you can get down to doing your past paper questions. If you don't have topicals, you can contact me for that. If you want these notes in proper laid out format, hard copy, then also you can contact me. The link is down below. Anyways, that's it for today. I hope you have understood everything. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Subscribe to my channel if you are a first time visitor, and also share it with your friends who might be struggling in computer science AS level. I'll see you guys in the next lecture. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.